And welcome everybody to the 138th episode of the Fact Is Podcast. We're your hosts, Dave Moses.
And I'm Ryan Mays.
And I'm Stu Mowbray.
There he is. He's
There's
still
Stu
remembering to
Bree.
do that.
There's Stu Bree.
He'll continue to work on that and get there good. Welcome, gentlemen. How's your week been? Good. How about you?
Been good.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, I love hearing that we have good weeks.
Oh, man, I'm acting like a fool right now. I got to stop.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's been a heck of a week. So weird thing that happened tonight on Facebook side. Of course, we weren't able to share it directly to our page. Still going to work out the kinks there, but, still able to get the live stream right here for you all to be able to see. So glad we could do that.
So,
Gentlemen.
Gentlemen.
Y'all ready to jump straight into this thing or what? So let's get into this and let's talk first. Number one, 9/11 happened, of course, back in 2001, 22 years ago. Long time ago.
Right,
Do you all still remember where you were during 9/11?
I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Where were you at?
I was in the 8th grade. I was in typing class. And all of a sudden, my teacher goes and turns on the little box TV we had up in the corner.
Right.
And all of a sudden, like the smoke was billowing out of the first tower, and then
Oh, wow.
we literally watched on live TV the plane hit the second tower, and that was kind of wild. I'm not gonna lie.
That is pretty wild. Because I remember being in elementary school, and we were sitting in the classroom, and the teacher turns on the TV, and I remember seeing everything. I was a little confused at first, of course, being as young as I was. I didn't really understand what was going on, and then when I went home, parents started explaining a little bit more, and things got kind of wild. So, yeah, it was a crazy, crazy day to reminisce upon. Stu, how about you?
Vague, but yeah, I remember being at school because I guess we would have been in the same school at that time.
Yeah.
And I just remember it was a normal day, and then the tone just
And it wasn't so normal.
the tone just totally changed. So I mean, I don't have too much
Right.
memory about it. But yeah, I remember the day and just how the tone just totally changed.
And for everybody out there watching this right now, we would love to hear from you all what exactly you all remember witnessing that day. That would be something that we would love to hear from everybody and to understand a little bit better, maybe what you were going through or what happened that day. So if you can, please share your stories with us because we would absolutely love to hear what you all have to say. So without further ado, though, are y'all ready to jump into the articles?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So let's.
But first, what did you guys think about Biden not being in New York?
That's right. So Biden did not give his speech in New York this past Monday when he was talking about 9/11.
He gave it from Alaska, didn't he?
Yeah,
I bet he was hanging out with Sarah Palin and watching Russia from her backyard.
I think that's a little bit wild, if y'all ask me. I mean, I cannot believe.
So, but on the flip side, are they supposed to be, is the president supposed to be in New York City every year for the 9/11 speech?
No, fair enough, but didn't he say he was in New York City?
No, I think he said
Or he
was
visited?
when it happened. He was there the day after.
Okay, but that was even a
But they
blatant
have
lie,
record
wasn't it?
of him being on the Senate floor the day
Yeah,
after.
so I mean,
But that dude can't remember what his name is. So,
Yeah,
I
true.
mean, do you really expect him to remember what he did 23 years ago?
No, not at
When
all.
he looked different and was a different person? Reptile.
Yeah, not at all. So,
He's a reptile.
I definitely I thought it was wild. That he gave it from Alaska, did all that.
Like I said, he was hanging out with Sarah Palin, and they were watching Russia from her backyard, just making sure that Russia's not doing anything crazy. That's all it was.
Yeah, I guess it's more of like a tradition thing. So you're used to, presidents
Right.
being there and, remembering.
Yeah,
I did see Jill and the general. I can't remember what their position is called. But they were at the Pentagon. That was the only
Nice. Well, I'm
Biden
glad that
family.
somebody made it to somewhere.
Yeah, no joke. Well, like you said, Ryan, I mean, it's to expect them to be there at every
year.
single 9/11 event. I mean,
you can't.
it would be nice if they planned that, but I can also understand that they have busy lives and they have things that they have to get
be
done.
honest with you, I would have rather seen him in Maui.
Maui, yeah, being
If he
in
was out
Hawaii.
in Maui, that would have been a hall pass for me. I'd have been like, okay, he's out there, doing something for American citizens who are in just time of
I
distress.
think he was out in Alaska because he was coming back from that G20 conference.
The G20, that's right.
Yeah.
Wait, where is the G20? The G20's in like Sweden, isn't it?
It's over in Asia somewhere.
Oh, it's in Asia?
Yeah,
Maybe in Europe.
I don't know.
well,
Speaking of Asian, Europe area, did you guys see that
Brigadi Maiden, by the way.
Kim Jong-un put his full support behind old Pootie Boy?
Didn't he just land in Russia not too long ago to talk to
No,
him?
they just did that. There was like over the weekend, I think. There
Oh,
was like
okay.
a
He took
meeting of
he
the
took
minds.
the train to Russia.
Yeah.
He doesn't fly.
Really?
Too easy to take him out.
I mean, I guess, Prigozhin could have learned a thing or two, but
Do you really think Prigozhin's gone though? I don't think he is.
back onto that conversation.
I think it was a ruse.
Yeah, that's. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that.
All of a sudden, you're gonna see Vladimir Putin dead, and Prigozhin's like, "I told you everything was okay."
I was just listening to the Dave Smith episode with Joe Rogan, and they were just talking about Prigozhin, and they were like, "So even if Prigozhin does take over, is it going to be much better?"
No, it's gonna be way worse. Actually,
Yeah,
isn't that dude like
it's-
a mercenary of death?
Yeah, so interesting thoughts there. I mean,
That's what the Wagner Group does, didn't it? Did you see here? I said, real redneck.
Wagner.
The Wagner boys.
Well,
Why don't you take us back to 2001?
I was just about to say. So let's go back
Take us
to what was enacted after 9/11, what we call the USA Patriot Act. So the USA Patriot Act, also called the Patriot Act, in full uniting and strengthening America by providing appropriate tools required to intercept and obstruct terrorism act of 2001. So U.S. legislation passed by Congress in response to the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks and signed into law by President George W. Bush in October 2001 that significantly expanded the search and surveillance powers of the federal law enforcement and intelligence agencies. The USA Patriot Act, as amended and reauthorized from 2003, made numerous changes to existing statutes relating to privacy of telephone, electronic communications, the operation of foreign intelligence surveillance, court, money laundering, immigration, and other areas. It also defined a host of new crimes and increased penalties for existing ones. So
9/11 was one of the saddest days in American history for multiple
reasons, and this is one of them actually. So we'll kind of touch up on like the history of it. I'm not going to go over everything because I would like for you all to kind of read up on the Patriot Act if you don't already understand a whole lot about it. So we'll touch up on some of the history of it though. So in the wake of the September 11th attacks, the Bush administration submitted to Congress draft legislation designed to expand the powers of the government to surveil, investigate, and detain suspected terrorists. The eventual Senate bill, the Uniting and Strengthening of America USA Act, was passed on October 11th. The House measure, which included much of the text to the Senate's USA Act, passed 337 to 79 on October 12th, as the Uniting and Strengthening America USA Act on October of 23. October 23rd, the House introduced a compromise bill, the USA Patriot Act, which was also passed 357 to 66 the following day. The Senate adopted a 98-1 the House bill without amendment on October 25th, and the following day, Bush signed the measure into law.
Look how fast they got that pushed through.
Very fast. And they used all of 9/11, of course, as the excuse to be able to get it pushed as fast as possible. So definitely take a look at the Patriot Act, kind of what happened, how it's related to Edward Snowden, the NSA, how we've talked about that. I think it's very important for everybody to kind of understand that if you don't already. But moving forward, we're going to talk a little bit about what the DHS does. So we're going to talk about Department of Homeland Security. the Department of Homeland Security is large and made up of 7 operational component agencies, numerous directories, and support components. Each component has its own unique areas of responsibility for keeping the homeland and its residents safe, from protecting the president and stopping the flow of drugs into the country to preventing acts of terrorism and helping communities recover from natural disasters. All parts of DHS are unified in their effort to advance the Homeland Security mission, working daily to prepare against and respond to any manner of crisis that may hit the United States. So to understand how the department's different parts work together to protect the homeland, click through so you can see some of the scenarios below, and just kind of go through those. So some of the things, what they did, what DHS does during steady state. Steady state refers to the Department of Homeland Security's activities during normal operations, during terrorist attacks, cyber attacks, major storms and severe weather events, pandemics, and political conventions. So you can kind of look up into that as well as to what DHS does and click through that. So please feel free to gander right through there. Like we said, we like to provide information for you all. But yeah, going back to 2001, Bush came out with a very, very interesting speech. One that kind of forced people to have a certain perspective, in my opinion. Because especially when you're the USA and you are the most powerful nation in the world, when you say such strong words, of course, it's going to affect your decision making and how you look at things, your bias. So take a look at this video.
Every nation in every region now has a decision to make. Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists. Either you're with us, either you love freedom and with nations which embrace freedom, or you're with the enemy. There's no in between. You're either with us or you're with the enemy. That's clear. I will continue to make that clear.
Wow.
Why does it always look like he's got a fat dip in his
A
mouth?
fat dip in his mouth.
He got a lip in, bro, on everything.
Yeah, I mean, so when you look at that as, I guess, as a country in the Middle East or a country in Europe, however you perceive it, I mean, what do you say? Because when America is saying you're either with us or against us, 99% of people are going to go, we're with you. I mean, it's America, right?
Yes and no. I mean, at that time, like, trade centers just went down.
Yep.
The second largest attack on American soil had just happened.
Yep.
You probably are looking at Bush like, oh crap.
Did he just say that?
I mean, do we want to bark up that tree?
Yeah, exactly.
Luckily, well, no, because the Raptors came about in what, 2002, 2003?
Something of that nature. But looking at,
dude, other countries are they're so lucky that we haven't deployed those bad boys in combat.
but just looking at like who we are as a country and what was happening at that time, again, to make such a strong statement.
Wanted blood.
Yeah. It almost pushed us and again into an illegal war. A war that is totally illegal, and how are they trying to define it? I believe they're trying to define it as a operation, or so a strategic defense operation,
Iraqi freedom.
Yeah, so they weren't actually going to war. It was just like an operation to be able to essentially infiltrate those countries. So that's how they were able to basically legally get into those countries without actually declaring war through Congress. Because again, the last war that was actually passed by Congress, or the time that we declared war, was World War II. That's the last time.
The Vietnam War, was it?
No.
Really?
None of it.
Just an operation as well?
Yeah. Again, legally, they would claim it as an operation.
Operation?
Yeah. Legally.
Operation.
I mean, they were wars, of course, and everybody in the history books will call them wars.
So what you're saying is the last time we actually declared war,
yep,
we dropped really big bombs.
Yeah. Everything else has just been operations.
I
hope
have
that
a
we never
difficult
declare
question.
war again.
I have a difficult question for you guys.
Love difficult questions.
In y'all's opinion, why do you think the towers were attacked?
because the Pentagon lost $2.5 trillion the day before, or announced it the day before. That's why I think they got attacked.
There is that. That's a huge thing to talk about.
Might have ruffled some feathers with that one.
I don't.
Was that what you were expecting, Stu?
I don't exactly have the answer for that. I mean, I believe that it's weird because we put it all on Osama bin Laden, who came from our own government agency. Or no, was that Saddam Hussein?
No, Saddam Hussein was the Iraqi leader. Osama bin Laden was the guy that we gave munitions to in the early 80s to fight the Russians.
That's right. That's
in
right.
Afghanistan.
So
and then turned around and used their weaponry against us.
Right. Now,
but we also went in and started FSU in his country.
Right.
So there was that. But
so wait, they blamed. I'm sorry, because sometimes I get history mixed up.
They pinned all of 9/11 on Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
Okay.
And apparently he slipped right through our fingers in 2001. We could have had him back in 2001, and then I think they made the announcement that he died in, what was it, 2011?
Right.
2012.
So okay, yeah, because it was Saddam Hussein that actually came from the CIA.
Saddam Hussein came from the CIA.
Yeah, he actually was part of the CIA.
Really?
Yeah, here in the United
Iraqi
States.
leader.
Yeah, and then went over to Iraq and basically led his people.
And then was a brutal dictator.
Yeah.
And then we found him in a box underground with a straw that he was breathing through.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, we worked with him in the 90s.
We did.
Yeah.
Didn't we work with? No. I thought we went to Kuwait. Desert Storm was protecting Kuwait from Iraq, wasn't it?
Good
What year?
question.
That was like 1991.
Yeah, Desert Storm was 90 to 91. It was the Gulf War is what they called it. Was between Iraq and the 42 country coalition led by the United States. So yeah, I guess we were defending other countries.
Yeah, I thought
from
like
Iraq.
I said,
Kuwait, Persian Gulf, Saudi Arabia.
I know Kuwait was like under attack from the Iraqis. That's why we were over there.
See, this is why it's so hard to pinpoint why exactly this happened, because there's so much history between it.
I mean, 91 to 2001, that's only 10 years. It's not even that long.
For me, though, I mean, I was born in 95, so I'm sitting here like, I don't remember jack-ish about that for the most part, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, 10 years. Think about that. If you're a country and you've been attacked or you've been wronged or you've been blown up or whatever the case may be, 10 years, that's recoup time right there, baby.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, that could have been it as well. But now here's the crazy part, though. Now they're actually showing ties to Saudi Arabia for 9/11.
Interesting.
So one of the countries that we were over there to protect in Desert Storm may have been directly involved with 9/11.
Right. And that's
What's the funding of it anyways?
Yeah. So, I mean, what really kind of set off the attack on Twin Towers?
Was
obviously,
I just think
it's
lost by I just think it's U.S. involvement in the Middle East.
Yes, I think that plays a part. I think the biggest reason why the towers were attacked, though, is because Donnie Rumsfeld came out and said that the Pentagon had lost. They failed the audit.
A lot of money.
Lost $2.5 trillion. Just lost it. Oh, hey, we have no clue where that went. Quote unquote. And then literally the day after he makes that announcement, a huge global event happens.
Yeah.
Takes everybody's mind off of it. And then now we are fueling the MIC, military industrial complex. Let's go kick some ass.
So what about all the audits that the Pentagon continues to fail?
I mean, now they have people have technology. Yeah, people have technology to distract themselves with.
Yeah, why change it up?
It just went from one way of distracting people to another.
Well, see, that's why we need the next big event, because people's faith in the military industrial complex is waning. So, like, this whole thing with Ukraine. Like, is that supposed to be the next big thing? That's what they're playing it up to be. World War III. Like, this could be the beginning. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, it's just you guys want to pick a fight. Mm-hmm. You guys want to fight. You guys want a war, because then it justifies more government spending, more taxpayer dollars going towards weapons of destruction.
All right.
And it's also interesting, too, when the Patriot Act was passed, it was only supposed to be temporary.
Yeah, and
But
it
it's
keeps
still
getting
happening
re-upped.
today.
Every time it comes up for a vote, it gets voted back in.
So there's that. I mean, I think there, yeah, like Ryan touched up on, like you touched up on, there's a number of reasons. It could just be that we were involved in the Middle East, and those countries were getting tired of the U.S. trying to push our, democratic republic society on them, and we're frustrated with that. So they
Or
obviously
we could
found a
have
way
been
to hit
killing their
back.
people.
We could have been killing their people. I mean,
Illegally.
you want to look between 2001 and
Syria.
when we
Oh,
pulled out of
thanks, Obama.
Afghanistan, what, 2 years ago? I mean, how many people died in the Middle East between then?
Well, why did we go into Afghanistan in the first place?
A great
It was
question.
To get Osama, right? And then we killed Osama. That was 2011. That was what, 15 years ago? No, God, my
I
math
do
is
remember
terrible.
that. I have vague
The-
memories of 9/11, but I do remember the day
Osama
that-
bin Laden.
that was announced. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah, I
that
mean-
too. I felt American AF.
There was almost 500,000 civilians that were killed since 2001 within, different kinds of places.
That's
like
nuts, man.
within like Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, Philippines,
That's just half
Libya,
of
Syria.
Richmond.
If you could do a quick search of U.S. involvement in the 90s in the Middle East and just see what you find. But it's interesting, hindsight 2020, we went into this war, and here we are in 2023, and like we talk about it every week. Like, what's there to show for it? U.S. troop lives have been lost. People
The
have
Taliban is back in power.
people have PTSD, depression. You had Edward Snowden come out and show the American people that we were being spied on. Just all these.
I think that's what we have to show for it, Stu, is the Patriot Act and mass surveillance. And, if you don't like it, then screw you.
So going back to the Bush administration from 89 to 93, it looks like after benefiting from decades of support from the United States and receiving conflicting signals immediately before the invasion of Kuwait, Saddam Hussein invaded the small country to his southeast on August 2nd, 1990. Bush launched Operation Desert Shield, immediately deploying U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia to defend against a possible invasion by Iraq. Desert Shield became Operation Desert Storm when Bush shifted strategy from defending Saudi Arabia to repelling Iraq from Kuwait, ostensibly because Saddam might, Bush claimed, be developing nuclear weapons. So that's when they talked about weapons of mass destruction.
Man, weapons of mass destruction all the way back in 1990?
Oh, yeah. A coalition
So wait,
of...
how did W know that there was weapons of mass destruction back in 2003?
Because his dad said so, I guess.
Yeah.
Daddy said so. Just going in there and finishing Daddy's work.
Coalition of 30 nations joined the American forces in the military operation that numbered more than 500,000 troops, and an additional 18 countries supplied economic and humanitarian aid. See, and that's when we all worked together. It wasn't just the U.S. throwing all of our money at stuff.
So they
We
blame
still through most of it.
they
True.
blame 9/11 on the terrorist group Al Qaeda. When was Al Qaeda formed?
It was back in the 90s, I
I
believe.
mean, it would
wasn't
have to have been in the 90s, late
Yeah.
90s maybe.
And then so when you look at it towards the end of this so in the last year of his presidency, Bush launched a military operation in Somalia in conjunction with the humanitarian operations by the United Nations. Operation Restore Hope, involving 25,000 U.S. troops, was designed to help stem the spread of famine caused by the Somali civil war. The operation had limited success. A 1993 attempt to catch Mohammed Farah Adid, the leader of the brutal Somali militia, which, if you all didn't know, you can watch Black Hawk Down. That's kind of where that was. That conflict, with 18 American soldiers, which were from the Black Hawks, and up to 1,500 Somalia soldiers killed. Soldiers and civilians killed. Adib was not captured.
American soldiers took down how many?
Between 1,500 Somalia militia soldiers and civilians, though.
Wait, 18 Americans took down
1,500.
1,500 people.
No, more Americans. 18 American soldiers lost their lives.
Oh.
Yes, and then
I thought
Adib
you
was
meant
not
like
captured.
in the Black Hawk Down scenario.
No.
18 American troops. Like, good God.
Yeah, wouldn't that be wild? So a couple comments we have here on TikTok, which Copperhead, appreciate you jumping back in here again this week.
Hey, Copperhead.
To make money for defense companies, which makes sense. So a lot of the defense companies
Yeah,
because
because we also talked about last week or 2 weeks ago, Dick Cheney's company.
Old Dick Cheney.
Yeah, going into these areas and being able to rebuild with all those
Yeah.
defense contracts and things like that, or the infrastructure contracts. So, that is about So I mean, to answer your question, Stu, it's very difficult to pinpoint why, but I think we can understand why we got attacked, and the issues that were around it. So, good discussion there.
Here's a quick question: what if it was us?
Like, what if we did this to ourselves, kind of thing?
To justify going back into Iraq
I mean,
and the Middle East.
People are going to call you conspiracy theorists for saying that because there's no technical proof. I mean, there's a lot of different thoughts online.
I mean, all I'm going to say is that jet fuel does not melt
about the same
steel
thing.
beams, but
I was about to say the same damn thing. I love that.
if you actually, so it was a really weird day the other day. I woke up and got on YouTube and started watching 9/11 videos for whatever reason. And
Right.
I watched the live broadcast, and people on the ground, right before the tower collapsed, they said there was another explosion or a series of explosions. And then they look up and the tower's coming down.
Right.
And then you watch the footage from the live feed, and you see, before anything starts collapsing, you see the floors below where the plane hit go boom, 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 like a controlled demolition. Call me a conspiracy theorist if you want, but go back and watch the footage.
It
Go
is
back and watch
interesting.
the live footage. It's crazy. I'm not sitting here like, yeah, okay, put on my tin hat. But no, I'm telling you, I watched the live footage from then,
Right.
2001, and those floors blew out before anything started to fall. If the top of the tower had started to fall and those started blowing out, that makes sense. Compression. Okay, I get it.
So I've heard of some scientific thoughts behind this where aluminum gets to a certain amount of heat, and when aluminum, because there was aluminum within the building, essentially, like within like the construction of the building, and I don't know how true this is, but from what I've understood from it, aluminum, when it gets to a certain temperature, actually explodes. I don't know
So
how severe.
30 floors under where the plane hit.
Yeah, I don't know
with the
exactly.
sprinkler system supposedly going off.
I don't
That
know
aluminum
exactly.
Got hot enough to explode.
I've seen so many different arguments, it's hard to know, honestly. But there's a lot of speculation that obviously it was not just two planes. That face. I love that face.
But anyway,
Yeah,
we can all agree that
It was a terrible day.
it was a
absolutely.
terrible
Absolutely
day,
tragic.
and then
Horrible day.
the government used it to push mass surveillance on
And
its
control.
people
More control.
and to go into this illegal war that
Take away people's rights.
U.S. troops died by the thousands.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like we did ourselves justice with just trying to run in there and take people by the throat. It was definitely a horrible situation, a tragedy. Nobody should have lost their lives that day. And, if you go back and do it all
Here's
again.
the thing. We went in with what seemed like our hands tied behind our backs, too, because we were trying to do it diplomatically. Like, if we were really upset about it, and we really wanted to, knock a head off,
Right.
why don't we just go in there and just completely collapse the government within a couple of days?
I mean,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if we were really trying, if that's what our end goal was, is to completely just go in there and just wreck things,
Right.
then why did we go in there so diplomatically?
Yeah.
Like,
why didn't we
and
just
then
go wreck things?
we went in there and we said, oh, we're gonna try to do this, and we're only gonna target the people that should be targeted, and then we kill 500,000 civilians. Like,
Yeah.
what? Go in there 2 days, wreck their entire government, like, and then okay, now let's pick up the pieces from here.
And what's interesting about back then, if you spoke out, you're against the war.
It's like,
It's kind of like what Bush said. You're either with us or you're with the terrorists.
Yep.
But there's also this
Are you turning on your country?
middle ground where it's like,
well,
yeah, we
I don't necessarily agree with killing people.
right.
Like, somebody should be held accountable.
So fast forward today, and that's
Ukraine.
that's kind of what's happening with Ukraine.
Yeah. Well,
Except for, I think more people are not necessarily. I don't feel like the American people are like well, you're either with Ukraine or you're against Ukraine. I think with the American people, it's kind of like, why are we spending all these billions of dollars over there when we could actually be sending some of those billions to our people in Hawaii who just got burned up?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, let's talk about you know what, while we're on it, let's just go ahead and show what Zelensky had to say. Just
it's
the
almost
other.
like this guy's an actor.
No. Go to the quote though. Go to the quote on that article. I want to pull that up real quick. So this is a pretty interesting article where it says, and it sounds almost word for word, kind of like what Bush was saying essentially back in 2001. At the same time, Ukraine's president is keenly aware of the risk to his country if the West starts to withdraw its economic support. That would damage not just Ukraine's economy, but its war efforts too. He puts it in stark terms. If you are not with Ukraine, you are with Russia. And if you are not with Russia, you are with Ukraine. So so again, it's like forcing that side. And if partners do not help us, it means they will help Russia to win. That is it. So, my question to Zelensky kind of comes to this. What about Switzerland? I mean, what if they just do not care at all and want to stay away from all the conflict? I don't, that to me
what
is,
he said.
Yeah, exactly. So
Can't have that.
interesting how it's almost identical to what was said back in 2001 and how they're trying
It's
to
like
kind of,
you can't stay neutral anymore.
either pick this
Well,
side or that side.
Here's the thing. Zelensky wants a war. And apparently they're being very, very adamant to not give an inch of Ukrainian land to Russia. So it's like either Russia gets the heck out or they're going to fight until the death. Like, that's just what I've seen reported. And it seems like Zelensky is all about some fighting.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat with you. So
It just seems like he's perpetuating this fight as much as he can. And in his shoes, I don't know that I would do any different if I had got invaded. I'd probably be like, no, let's punch him in the face.
no, you can't take it back now.
Oh no, you're over here now, buddy. We're going hunting.
Thought we would have learned from the Iraq and Afghanistan war.
Thing is if we just take the gloves off.
You do one of two things with history: you either learn from it or repeat it, and we continue to repeat history constantly. So,
Well, it's very financially beneficial. We continue to eat it.
for them, yes, not for us.
Oh no. Because I mean, we've thrown what, 300 billion?
Yeah,
This problem now?
I mean, it's just and actually, why don't we go to the next thing involving Ukraine? So, a couple things here. Number one, in Ukraine, a U.S. arms dealer is making a fortune and testing the limits. So, billions are pouring into a clubby, secretive arms market with Pentagon cash and unusually close Ukraine military ties. Keep on scrolling. Or Mark Morales in it for his peers. So, half a dozen or so men gathered last month for afternoon drinks at a penthouse bar at one of Kyiv's swankiest hotels to discuss the lucrative business of arming Ukrainian troops. The group included Ukrainian military and government officials who are always in the market for explosive shells to lob at invading Russian soldiers. The center of attention was their gregarious host, a Florida-based arms contractor named Mark Morales, who regaled them with stories of his new $10 million yacht, the trigger-happy in his search for someone to manage his company 9-digit portfolio. Ooh, good for him. And joining the group was a stout, bearded man who served both the buyers and sellers, Vladimir Koifman, a chief sergeant in the Ukrainian military whom Mr. Morales pays to arrange meetings with his government contacts. The unusual arrangement, legal experts say, tests the boundaries of American and Ukrainian corruption laws prohibiting payments to government officials. So the meeting, which was recounted by two people in attendance, offered a glimpse at a quiet aspect of the Biden administration's war strategy. The administration has sent Ukraine more than $40 billion in security aid, including advanced weapons like HIMARS, rockets, Patriot missiles, but the Pentagon also relies heavily on little-known arms dealers like Mr. Morales, who have the connections needed to secure ammunition, much of it lower quality or Soviet caliber from around the world. Not to mention,
Sounds like War Dogs. Have you ever seen the movie?
Yeah, I love that movie.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, basically.
Dude is Jonah Hill out here with a fake tan.
I love that movie. Mr. Morales is among Ukraine's most important such suppliers. The Pentagon has awarded his company about $1 billion in contracts, mostly for ammunition, and records show he has built a roughly $200 million side business selling the Ukraines directly. So there's that.
Yeah, so if you're this guy,
you're making a killing.
why would you want the war to end?
Yeah, I mean,
He's a war dog.
when you're making hundreds of millions of dollars, why would you? And then not only that, another beautiful thing, the U.S. has agreed to also, and here's part of that part as well. So the $175 million was part of a total of more than $1 billion in assistance to Blinken announced to the Ukrainian capital, which just happened, a few days ago? Yeah. So we are sending another $1 billion to Ukraine, y'all.
You know what's crazy is
Forget about Maui. Forget about everything around the U.S. that we could be taking care of. Here's another $1 billion to Ukraine. Yeah. Wow.
hello, darkness, my old friend.
It's
Man, you think about this. Here's the crazy part. How much did the whole aid for people during COVID cost? Like $885 billion, right? But only like, what was it? Only like $300 billion of that was the actual like aid to people. The
Yeah,
rest
I'm
of it
trying
was
to-
just government programs.
trying to find that
I believe
number.
so. Something like that, if I remember correctly.
The CARES Act? Is that what it was?
I don't know. The first one,
No,
second.
higher
I know
education emergency
I know they did
relief
like
fund.
$9 trillion in total.
Yeah, something ridiculous like that is what I'm saying.
But you know what's really funny about this is like they used to make movies where the villain would ask for $100 billion, and it was like, oh, that's such an outlandish number. And we've sent how much now to Ukraine?
Yeah.
$300 billion.
Something
$300 billion
wild.
in the
I
matter
don't think
in the
it's that
span.
much.
No,
No, I think all in all, between weapons and money, I think it is close to like $300 billion.
the last one that I'm
I don't know.
seeing was
Lose track.
was 135 billion back on August 15th.
135 billion in total,
Yes.
encompassing everything.
So this is the Center for Strategic International Studies. They say President Biden asked Congress for an additional $24 billion for the war in Ukraine, bringing the total aid to $135 billion.
Okay, so I was
That's still a lot of money.
Yeah,
Let's not be mistaken here.
My bad. It's just still a huge number that we as mere mortals cannot conceive.
No. And honestly, it's getting hard to keep track of all these numbers because they continue to send so much, and we don't know how much they've sent under the radar, so who knows?
And you know all the people, like the arms companies and the people building this machinery, ammunition,
Love
etc.
it.
Those companies' stocks are increasing. And I haven't looked into it, but who's to say that maybe our Congress isn't investing in those stocks?
Oh,
And
sure they are.
They do
Oh,
insider
sure.
trading already.
They're already on the
Nancy
boards.
the whale.
Nah, she's out of it all now. She decided to retire,
Well,
didn't
and
she?
Paul got hit in the head with a hammer, so who knows what it.
Who's retiring?
I thought Pelosi was already
Yeah,
out of
Pelosi's
politics.
retired.
She's
hadn't
running
she?
for re-election, bros.
What? Since when?
Nancy
swear
Pelosi.
she literally-
Nancy Pelosi announced she's running again for re-election. Look it up, Mr. Nafe.
Okay, so Nancy Pelosi says she will seek House re-election 5 days ago in 2024, dismissing the retirement at age 83. Oh my God, no!
You like
I thought
that?
She was finally gone.
You like
she
that?
announced her retirement and everything. Panda Ryan, thank you. That's how all of us feel right now. This is ridiculous. 83 years old. She
Ryan,
said she
you
was
look like
retiring.
half of Congress right now. Brain dead.
Just say I. I.
Wait, what do I need to say?
Dude, I just definitely had a Mitch McConnell moment.
Oh.
Too soon? Oh
I
my
mean-
God, dude. No.
She was gone. She
Oh,
was,
yes.
She was literally stepping down. She was like, I'm done.
Oh
I'm
my
retiring.
God.
And now 5 days ago, she confirmed she's rerunning.
Well, I
okay.
mean, like I said,
Love
with
it.
Paul getting hit in the head with a hammer, who else is going to make the money in the family? Like, she's got to have the insider trade to give.
Like the million she's already made won't
Well,
keep her going for
It's
life.
the information, Nave. She needs to be able to feed him the insider trade information. Oh my God.
Okay.
Dude, that is probably
the worst news I've heard all week. Thanks, Stu.
No. Got to remember 9/11 was this week.
True.
But I
it's
mean,
definitely like a close third, though.
but understand this: if she doesn't run, they're gonna put somebody in her place that's very similar to her.
Oh, I'm sure they will. Deep state always.
Oh,
finds a
well,
way.
not even just that. Her district in San Francisco. Gonna put some far left whack job in there. It's probably worse.
Love it, gentlemen. Wow.
Who do you? Oh my God! What do you think replaces Mitch McConnell? Do you think it'll be Donatello or Raphael?
Leave my Ninja Turtles out of this.
He's definitely not teenage.
Who steps down first?
Who steps down?
I mean, it was
I don't
supposed
think
to be
either of them step
Pelosi.
down. Which one do you think dies first? At
The,
this rate, I say McConnell.
no, that lady,
Feinstein?
Feinstein.
Oh, Feinstein.
No, bro,
Yeah,
she's like 90.
yeah,
I
I,
mean,
could see her
okay,
first.
yeah.
in terms of like closest to now. But I'm saying like McConnell and Pelosi are about the same age. Which one of them?
McConnell.
Who do you think dies first in that race?
McConnell.
I think so too. I don't
Yeah.
think he's got much left on his wick.
I mean, these past 2 times where he's completely frozen up has been very nerve wracking. Like I again,
Well, he's like the head of the Republican Party in the Senate.
and it's hard for
But
me.
Nate, the doctor said everything was okay.
Yeah, doctors. It's hard for me too because
And scientists
I
in the
try to
70s said
remember-
cigarettes were okay.
I try to remember these are people, but at the same time, I'm like, their own family is allowing this to happen. Again, Jill and Mitch McConnell's wife and again, Nancy Pelosi's husband, they're allowing them to continue to be in these very high, stressful, strenuous jobs at the age that they're at. So it's like, you can only feel so bad for them, you know?
When you have somebody who is just absolutely power hungry in your family,
Can't feel bad for them.
Can you stop them?
I know, but I mean, at the same time, I typically tell them, I
Yeah, you might have some harsh words for them, but is
Yeah.
that going to stop them?
not going to stop them, no. So,
But see, this is the thing. That guy and all the others that look like they belong in a geriatric, community are literally they're it.
it's tough, man.
Man, they're at the end of their lives and they're like, well, we'll just keep spending money because, like, I mean,
Who
we're going to be
cares?
dead in the next couple of years. So,
It's not
like,
falling on me.
I mean, that's going to be the grandkids. They're going to have to figure that one out.
For
Like,
themselves.
hey, we're leaving you a great country.
Oh, man.
The boomer generation has actually destroyed the country more than probably any other generation in the history of our country.
I'd agree with that.
I would say every generation up to the boomers probably left the country in a better place. And the boomers have just been like,
Yep, they've
and the boomers actually probably did a really good job at first. No, they didn't, because they, completely just threw us into a debt-ridden society. No.
yeah,
I got nothing.
they
for
put
them.
us in a
They
tough
suck.
situation.
They suck.
They suck. They're horrible.
They're pretty terrible.
But let's move forward because Stuart just dropped some horrible news. So thank you, Stu. We love you. Thank you for the facts.
I'm sitting here like completely in shock, Stu.
Yeah, I can't believe she's actually rerunning, but whatever. So anyways,
Jeez, man.
Can
And
we
I'm
get that,
sorry.
Can we
I
get
know
that
these-
face one more time, Ryan?
that's beautiful.
You want me to drool?
Oh, ew. I'm sitting near him. Don't do it.
I wasn't gonna go full McConnell.
Oh, okay.
You don't ever go full McConnell.
Oh, wow.
I wonder why we're banned on Facebook.
You wonder.
Sorry, fellas.
So let's talk about the appeals court rules with the government likely violated First Amendment in vaccine misinformation campaign. So This is where things also get a little interesting in how the U.S. government was intervening with social media. So, U.S. Appeals Court on Friday ruled several government entities, including the White House, FBI, Surgeon General, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, likely violated the First Amendment by pressuring social media companies to moderate their content on misinformation surrounding vaccines. In a decision issued Friday evening, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals said government actors likely coerce or encourage social media companies to moderate their content, affirming a decision by a lower court with respect to the White House, FBI, and CDC and Surgeon General. 3 judges issuing the decision were all appointed by Republicans. The decision represents a significant win for conservatives who have long argued the government has gone too far in pressuring social media companies to make content decisions in lockstep with government opinion. I am not somebody who I would consider right, but I also agree that they have stepped a little too far. At the same time, the court largely vacated an injunction by the lower court that prohibited the government from contacting social media companies about their content, ruling the previous injunction was both too broad and vague. It issued a modified injunction that prohibits parts of the government from coercing and significantly encouraging a social media platform's content moderation decisions. It said this conduct would include threats of adverse consequences, even if their threats were not verbalized, and did not materialize, so long as a responsible person would construe a government's message as alluding to some form of punishment. So, the White House said in a statement, said the Department of Justice was reviewing the decision and its options going forward. The administration has promoted responsible actions to protect public health, safety, and security when confronted by challenges like a deadly pandemic and foreign attacks on our elections. The statement said, our consistent view remains the social media platforms have a critical responsibility to take account of the effects their platforms are having on the American people, but make independent choices about the information they present. So, there's a little bit more here, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to kind of jump to the end here on this one. It says the attorney generals of Louisiana and Missouri filed a lawsuit against Biden and other administration officials in May for allegedly working with social media companies, including Meta, Twitter, and YouTube, to censor and suppress free speech on topics such as COVID-19 and election integrity. Republicans on the House Judiciary Committee are requesting documents that include communications between the Biden administration and social media companies as part of the panel's investigation of what GOP says were efforts to suppress free speech and censor content online. So the only thing I got to say real quick before I'll gladly let you all give your 2 cents into this, but if they do find them guilty, now that Twitter or X, whatever you want to call them, is ran by Elon Musk, is he going to be held responsible, or is it going to be the previous CEO who's going to be held?
Previous administration.
Yeah, previous, I guess, because he cleaned house. He cleaned house.
And the other thing is, you can't just because somebody before you did something bad doesn't mean that you're responsible for their bad doings.
Right, but I think with this lawsuit, they would have to push it onto the company ultimately because they're suing the company.
I don't think so. I think it would be like I said, the administrative staff of the company at that time.
I definitely hope so. But anyway, so give your all thoughts. Do you agree that the government pushed a little too far when it came to the First Amendment on these social media companies?
A little too far?
Can we get that face?
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
A little too far. You want to sit there and say a little too far?
Let them have it.
Bro. You're disappointing me here, buddy. A little too far would have been like, hey, just watch what people are saying about COVID-19. That would have been a little too far. What they did was a blatant violation of the First Amendment. It absolutely pertains to them because the government was acting through the social media companies. I don't do away with the social media companies. They should no longer be protected by anything.
Now, do you
section, what is it, 230 or whatever?
Yeah,
goes away. It has to. Do
you blame? So, do you remember Mark Zuckerberg going on to Joe Rogan talking about talking about how they actually reached out to him about the Hunter Biden laptop situation and basically told him, hey, this is misinformation. It's Russia delusion. Don't let it spread on your socials, blah, blah, blah type thing. So can we blame them for doing what the government says? Because in reality, I mean,
yes.
The government has
As what?
In theory, is going to have power over you, and that's where
The government has
these lawsuits are coming
okay.
in.
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up.
I love this.
Because the government doesn't have any power over those companies. None whatsoever. Because if the company really wants to just do what they want to do, guess who's not going to get the funding? Guess who's not going to get that lobby money? Guess who's not going to... All Meta would have to do... Mark Zuckerberg laugh at them and say, oh, you want to come after me? I'll just pull all the money I've donated.
I love that take. I do.
And then what are they going to do? Oh, we're sorry, Mr. Zuckerberg. That $400 million you gave the Democratic Super PAC, my bad.
You know what I would do, just to be savage, is any email or text or anything that got
Blast it.
sent. Yeah, just post
Yeah.
it.
Put it on your social
The
media so
social-
they can
like
all
the-
see it.
Those large corporations, they have so much dirt on the American government. Like the government, what is the government gonna do to you?
Yeah, good point.
What, they're gonna attack you cyber, or you're gonna attack the people who created cyber attacking,
Right.
right? What?
But also,
what
too,
does
think
the
about
government,
this.
What can the government do to you? At
Think
this?
about like the grants and loans that the government has given to those big tech companies.
Okay, think about all the money that those big tech companies have given to the people who are in Congress and running for president and everything else.
Interesting.
So all the business has to do is say, "What? Who are you? I fund you.
So now when you
Get
break
out of my face.
when
I'll pull my funding out in a heartbeat."
when you break it down like that, do you think that maybe it's a possibility that the social media companies and government worked one-on-one with each other on purpose? Yeah. So
It's one and the same.
there's that option as well, because if one of
That's
them
why they
had the
don't-
ultimate power, then one of them could have made the ultimate decision to
Yeah.
say yes or no.
Yes or no? And so if one does have the ultimate power, who would you say had the ultimate power? The government?
Mm.
Because if you say the government had the ultimate power, then the government should be. I mean, according to the Constitution, time to start throwing some tea in them.
It's time to start throwing some tea. I like
if
that.
you don't believe, if you believe that the corporation had all the power, then it's time to start throwing some tea in the harbor.
Yeah, I mean,
Because that means that the government has now been infiltrated by the corporations, who then are making
Fascism.
decisions. Yeah, it's fascism.
yeah. So I mean, it's and it that. Woo! I'm covering a lot tonight, boys. That is essentially, so now you
Let it out, Nate.
Man,
Let it
man.
out.
I mean, that's essentially kind of where we're at in our government, isn't it? Because I mean, when you look at the kind of monopolies that are taking over and the amount of lobbying that's going on, it's almost like if they are one and the same, then
Well,
that's exactly where we
I'll
are
put it
right
to you
now.
this way: we don't have a democracy. We don't have a republic. We have a
Right.
corporatocracy. And if anybody wants to disagree with me, like, please show me how we're not in a corporatocracy.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Congress doesn't vote on what the people want, but only about 30% of the time. Whether that the people want a bill or the people don't want a bill doesn't really sway Congress's vote on it at all.
And by the way, for anybody who's going to come in here with that view of, well, then we need to stand behind Antifa. Shut up. I don't like Antifa either.
No.
I don't like any of
No.
those.
What needs to happen is we need a strong leader
Oh, yeah.
who doesn't want the job. That's
But
what
we
we need.
need them to be in that job.
But they need to go in there and just clean house.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the executive branch needs to get cleaned out and then replaced with new blood, new people, new whatever.
I wonder.
Then states need to start cleaning house in Congress. Like, it needs to happen. This day of tribalism, like, vote Republican because they're red, or vote Democrat because they're blue.
Gotta stop.
It's got to stop. It's got to.
Or else we'll never get to where we want. in
No,
our-
no, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
And then what's going to eventually happen is we're going to go into democracy, because they've been priming us for years to go into a democracy, not a democratic republic. They want us in a democracy because from a democracy, authoritarianism or totalitarianism starts. And then from totalitarianism, it starts authoritarianism. Then from authoritarianism, dictatorship.
Right.
And then the death of America has happened.
But see, I feel like they'll always hide that really well because between the corporations having so much power and then the government itself, it'll always be hidden.
Are we any better than Russia with their oligarchs?
I can't say that we are right now. Not at all.
We have a billionaire class that pretty much pulls all the strings.
And you have your left and right. You have a two-party system. So I mean, if your choice is 50-50, that to me sounds like
well, the other thing is it's like, do we have a choice?
No, I mean, it's a monopoly essentially between those two parties. So
yeah, think about when you're an incumbent.
It's a monoparty.
There's no, like when the primary, just for instance, the presidential election right now, where Joe Biden, they're just giving him the nominee basically. There's no primary. They don't talk about RFK Jr. They don't talk about Marianne Williamson. Like if you're the incumbent, you have all the funding and you're almost assured to go up for re-election.
Yeah, and
Wow.
it sucks.
yeah, and
Like that's how do you think all these Congress people who've been in the Congress for 40 years? How?
so it's crazy to think about. When the tides will actually start to change, and I think the tides start to change when we actually start to consider those other parties. We have 5-6 different candidates to kind of choose from and to be able to go to, but right now, I mean, the oligarch we have, it's
Well, the thing is,
I don't know.
is I think a good start to changing, a decent start, term limits.
absolutely.
I think term limits would change a lot of things.
That's what I was going to ask earlier. Do you think the president could just come in and do
No.
like an executive
No,
order
no,
on
no,
that?
because of the separation of government powers.
Somebody, I mean, then who? Then it's never going to happen.
No,
They're
no.
never gonna.
Congress would have to vote for it themselves, or the states. If there's 27 states that they can pull together an emergency council,
Right.
and the states themselves can vote on term limits.
That would be incredible.
That is part of the Constitution. I think it's 27. It might be might even be.
I kind of hope it would just be 26. Anything over the majority.
No. It's like a super majority.
Yeah, fair enough.
That amount of states have to come together to call in like an emergency state Congress kind of thing. I don't know.
Term
the
limits have
technical
to
name,
happen.
but
They have
the
to.
states themselves could enact term limits.
And that's the crazy
It would
thing.
be a wild time to be alive.
70 to 80% of people agree that they need term limits. Like
Look up what the
left,
actual number
right.
is. I bet it's higher than that. I would say it's probably like 85. Because anybody who pays slightly attention to politics is looking at these old heads in there like, you shouldn't even be allowed to run. Like, should Mitch McConnell even be allowed to run? Because they've gerrymandered his state so bad that he's gonna get reelected.
Yeah, I would like I said earlier, I would like to see, like when the incumbent comes up for re-election, I'd like to see a bigger primary. You
Yeah.
know, like they just don't get to run for re-election. Like they have to do a whole primary again. But you know, like Nancy Pelosi, she's gonna run for re-election and everything. Like she's gonna have all those.
But she's got the super
Fundings.
PAC and everything behind
Yeah,
her.
she's got all that power behind her. I mean, that's why you can never do anything about it.
And so this was back in 2017. This is the latest number I could find, 80%. So I'd only imagine it's gone up from there.
Yeah, with the advent of COVID.
Yeah, and all that good stuff. So,
But I've also heard counter arguments to the term limits. Like, what if you get a really good senator or somebody in the House and you want them in there?
So they're there for 8 years and then they go.
Or 12.
Or 12. I mean, yeah, whatever the agreed upon term limits
Actually,
are.
I think it's 8. If president can only be in there for 8 years, then so should
That's kind of what I was
Senate,
thinking.
Senate should only be able to be in there 8 years as well. I would say House 12.
Now, I mean, I'm sure there's arguments for, okay, just because I served,
Well, you
terms here in Senate, can I go to the House?
Yes,
and then it's
I
sure.
think that's
we can
absolutely
make that.
okay.
We can make
I
that
think
happen.
you should be able to go from Senate to House to President if you wanted to, or House to Senate to President, whatever the case may be.
And if total was like 8 years in each, then you serve a total of
Well, then yeah, you've done your 30
24
years
years
or whatever.
Yeah.
But here's the thing to combat your argument, Stu, George Washington, he was pretty awesome, wasn't he?
Loved him.
Stepped down after 2 because he understood that if you stay in power, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Right.
So even if we do get someone who's awesome in there, we should still step down because they might be awesome for their term, but eventually their term is, if it extends, their awesomeness is going to turn against the American people.
Yeah.
Because the absolute power will corrupt them absolutely. And I don't care who it is. It could be Teddy freaking Roosevelt. If he stays in office for 8 terms, it's going to corrupt you.
Yeah, I'm 100% on that. So, yeah, there's that fun discussion. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't know if y'all have anything else on that, but
something needs to be done.
Flat
something
tax.
needs to be done.
The conversation,
10% flat tax.
this conversation has to happen.
Everywhere.
Absolutely. And until it starts happening everywhere, it's never going to change. So we just need to keep pushing people to have that conversation and continue to push each other.
Your representatives. Write them.
That's the only thing you can do.
Email them. Call them. If we can get enough people to start blowing our representatives up and just bugging the absolute crap out of them and saying, you need to pass a bill on term limits. You need to pass a bill on term limits. You need to pass a bill.
Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe.
Do you think it could be like a state thing? Like, say, in one of your states, we're going to push our representatives to have term limits. Do you think, like, it'd be like a state by state, then, like, eventually all 50 states would have it, or have to be like a total federal?
I think it would have to be a vote.
Yeah.
I think it would have to be a vote.
And I think it should be
senators.
I think it should be held
That's where we all screwed
federally.
up. That's where we screwed up, is giving the Senate and Congress the power to vote on their own term limits
No joke.
and salary and things like
But
that. That's where we screwed up.
Weren't term limits for the presidents, weren't they just created under Franklin Roosevelt?
Yes. So term limits were never a thing. George Washington stepped down after 2 terms, and then every president that followed him, out of respect for what he did the same thing. 2 terms, done. 2 terms, done. 2 terms, done. Until we got to FDR. And then FDR ran 2 terms, and then World War II started popping off, and I think he ran for a 3rd term, and then the 4th term, they didn't even have an election because we were in a declared war. So that suspends the election cycle. And then after FDR, they put it in term limits into effect. Because I know a lot of people were starting to call FDR a dictator. Like they were
wow.
saying, here, this is our version.
That very
Interesting.
easily kind of could have happened.
Absolutely. He was in office for 16 years.
Interesting.
He died in office though, too, didn't he? And then no, he was voted out.
FDR?
Yeah, and then Truman came in and dropped the bomb.
Mm,
I don't know. Remember if he died in office or Truman was elected. I think it was Truman was elected.
from until his death in 1945.
Who? FDR?
FDR.
How long
yeah.
was
so
his
he
term?
died. I know he was in his 4th term. I don't think he finished it, but
Good. There it is. March 4th, 1933 to April 12th, 1945.
12 years.
12 years.
Oh wow, yeah, he did die in office. Yep. Damn.
12 years. So he was in his 4th term when he died.
That's wild. Damn. Well,
and people had started to call him the dictator of America.
Yeah. Which, I mean, yes and no. I mean, I understand it, but I also it was a tough time.
World War II. Like, don't get me wrong.
Last, war declared by Congress. So.
Well, the other thing is I don't disagree with having an election cycle suspended if we are in a declared war.
Yeah, like and especially if it's
Because a change of leadership in the middle of a war is probably not the best thing.
not the best thing. We're not worried about re-election campaigns. We're
Which
worried about
They're
making
doing
sure we
that
win
in
this war.
Ukraine right now. They're not having an election till the war's over.
Yeah, so
It makes sense.
Zelensky. It makes
I
sense.
mean, that does make sense. If
Yeah.
you're in the middle of an active war, like it is a declared war, you are fighting for the sovereignty of your nation, then I don't think that, changing your leadership at midway necessarily the best course of action.
Yeah. So, First Amendment government, they are getting, of course, ridiculed for that,
Oh,
and we will
geez.
continue to keep
Sorry, I
up
went
with
off
that.
the rails here.
No, we're good. We'll continue to keep
Second
up.
Amendment.
We'll keep
This woman.
We'll keep up with that. But now comes the fun time where we talk about the outrage over the New Mexico governor's temporary gun ban as sheriff vows not to enforce it, which is a good thing. So let's take a quick look at this video.
We have the third highest gun-related injuries in the country, 90% higher than the national average. We lost 143 children between 2017 and 2021. It is unacceptable, and it calls for immediate and swift and bold action. And frankly, the evidence bears out over and over again. Fewer guns on the streets makes everyone safer, and I'm focused on everyone's constitutional rights, not just those the NRA says I should be focused on.
Yeah, it's not just the NRA. Here's one other concern from the sheriff. Here's what he told my colleague Caitlin Collins last night.
In a couple of months or a year down the road, we're the ones stuck in court, and we're the ones getting sued over all of these infringement of rights and all these other court battles, when I could be focusing so much more on crime.
Has any law enforcement officer in Albuquerque or the county actually enforced this yet?
Well, we haven't issued any civil penalties, but that doesn't mean that we're not and that we don't have the ability to do that.
But that's a no, right?
This is the pushback I get from every single, well, it's a no this minute, but that doesn't mean that we aren't, and it doesn't mean that we don't have additional police presence. And if not this bold action, making sure that you're safe going to the grocery store, you're safe going to a baseball game, you're safe walking on a hiking trail. There are individuals, including young people, where it's illegal today to have a handgun. Openly carrying handguns. My question to law enforcement is, where are you?
All right, so that was probably one of the most outrageous videos I think I've ever seen my entire life. So let's just kind of revisit what she said there. First off, I really kind of liked, I'm not a huge CNN fan, but I really liked how when she said, well, that's a no, right? Like she was trying to confirm that no, nobody has upheld this ludicrous 30-day public health order that she was trying to put into place. But not only that, if I want to feel safe on a trail or anywhere else in public, why would I not carry a pistol? Isn't that like when you're at your most safe moment? When you're protected?
That's what you would think.
I mean, that's what you would think, but I don't know. So let's touch up a little bit on this article, and then we'll dive a little bit more into this because there is some
Who do you
misconstraints
think's actually pulling
about
the
this.
strings?
I don't know.
Who do you think?
I don't have an answer. I think it's just her being crazy.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Nah, you don't just come out and attack the Constitution because you're crazy.
I mean, I think that it's definitely a deep state
it's
trying to push and see how far they can take this. Like what rights or what their limits are to be able to eliminate things without
Why
any
New Mexico?
controversy. It's a great question. I don't know why New Mexico.
So New Mexico's GDP is not very high, right? I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but
Facts are facts.
Yeah, New Mexico doesn't have the highest GDP. So it's a perfect state it's got a high gun violence, right?
Right.
So it's the perfect state to try something like this on. If they're successful, then they understand that now they can push gun legislation and remove firearms. Why didn't this try to happen in Oklahoma? Why didn't this try to happen in Texas? Because there would have been an immediate riot with people getting shot.
Yeah.
In New Mexico, it also doesn't really matter if that state goes into civil war. as far as the country goes. So if this was to start happening and they were to start taking some people's guns and it goes into a complete civil war in New Mexico, it doesn't really affect the rest of the country.
Interesting.
It's isolated state.
Right.
It's surrounded by deserts. The only thing that's in New Mexico is Albuquerque.
Right. And that's so Albuquerque, New Mexico, where federal lawsuits, cries for impeachment, and outside protests. Democratic New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham said she would welcome a fight after announcing an emergency order to suspend the right to carry firearms in most public places around Albuquerque. That's exactly what she's getting. So since she issued the 30-day public health order on Friday, a furor has rained down from gun owners. State Republican lawmakers and civil rights advocates, even some in her own party, question the move. I like that. The sheriff, who oversees the county that includes New Mexico's largest city,
didn't dispute or
they didn't. Yeah, but they were wondering. They were like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah, but that's bullshit.
Right.
Excuse my language.
No, I hear you.
I'm sorry. They took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and they're not.
They're not upholding it. Albuquerque vowed Monday not to enforce it, joining the country's top prosecutor, the Albuquerque mayor, and city's police chief. It's unconstitutional, so there's no way we can enforce that order. Sheriff John Allen said during a news conference this ban does nothing to curb gun violence. A gun rights group filed a federal lawsuit within 24 hours asking a court to block the order from taking effect, and other federal lawsuits followed. Critics denounced the order as an infringement on the gun rights of law-abiding citizens. GOP state lawmakers also proposed initiating impeachment proceedings against the governor. I like that. A move that would require buy-in from the Democrats who control the legislature. So
not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, we can go into it more and more.
They're not coming after your guns.
That's what they say. So the way that all of this started, let's see. So the way all this started was she was driven by the number of recent children shooting deaths. It is time to declare an end to this kind of violence. It is, in fact, an epidemic, she said last week, while acknowledging criminals surely would ignore her order. So if criminals are going to ignore your order, then why are you going to take it away from the law-abiding citizens who can actually stand up and protect themselves? If you're scared to protect yourself, just say it. But allow American citizens to protect themselves, their families, their friends, especially when they're out in a public place, because the average response time around the country for police is 10, 15 minutes. So I'm going to have to wait 10 or 15 minutes for this person to, don't shoot me. Please don't do anything. Wait 10 or 15 minutes. The cops will get here. Then you can fight with them. Yeah, make it make sense. Is there any logic behind any of this? No. So there is that, in my opinion. Among the killings, she pointed to the August shooting death in northern New Mexico's Taos County of 13-year-old Amber Archuleta. The girl's father applauded the action, saying his family was destroyed. We are looking for answers and solutions to this issue, said in a statement by his attorney. Gun safety organizations also voiced support. So, I don't know. And that's basically it right there. I mean, it found that 11.7 killings per 100,000 people in New Mexico, just below Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and District Columbia. This was 2021 gun killings. But again, there's a lot of things that they're not taking into consideration here. They're not taking into consideration potential suicides, accidental discharges, going back even into 2020 when, you could have gone in with a gunshot wound, but if you had COVID, it was declared COVID death. So, I mean, there's so many different things that they're not taking into consideration that we don't actually know the true number. So that is definitely a falsified number, in my opinion. Thoughts, gentlemen?
Go ahead, Stu.
Where do I begin? Yeah, I agree with the sheriff. It's a direct infringement of your constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Disagree with her policy, and I think she deserves all the animus and all the negative attention that she's getting, and she should learn from it.
Agreed.
On her side of the aisle, it's not negative attention.
That's also true.
On her side of the aisle, she's a rock star.
We'll see, though. I mean, because
on her side of the aisle.
yeah, I mean, if they want to think that, but at the same time, I'm telling you, if it's gonna get very scary, gentlemen, if they start actually trying to go across the country with stuff like this. It's gonna get very scary, and it's times that I do not want to be here to see.
There wasn't much outrage when Illinois banned ARs, though.
Did they actually ban ARs, or did they ban mags, or what was it? Was it actual ARs
They had like an
themselves?
assault weapons ban.
Interesting. I don't know. Some places will definitely be more outraged than others.
Yeah, let them come to the South with that.
Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at with it. Look at anywhere, from West Virginia down all the way across the country. I mean,
Yeah.
literally just draw a straight line,
I mean,
go across
you
the
could literally
country.
draw a line under like Manassas.
Yeah,
And then take that across the country.
good luck. I mean, seriously.
Except for New Mexico, apparently.
Apparently. Well, they had a lot of protests and whatnot to this, where they literally the
Could you
day
imagine
after it
Texas?
started. Oh my God. That would be like a national call out of work day because we got to go protest.
I don't even think it would be. I don't think it would be a national call out of work day. I think the businesses would be like, y'all need to get down here to the state legislature.
Carry your damn guns.
I am not expecting you to come into work today. Like, get down there and fire off a couple rounds up in the sky. Like,
Why
let's
not?
get this thing going here. What are we doing?
It would definitely be
Could you
interesting
imagine
times.
Alabama? You wouldn't even be able to understand what they're saying.
It would be interesting
Hey,
times.
go down here. I'll tell you what, boy. Go. I got my Coors Light now because that other stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God, Ryan, I love you,
dude. Mississippi.
Yeah, it would be a hellstorm throughout the United States. So
Where else? Where else would be bad? Where else
literally
would-
just anywhere
Michigan.
south. Here,
Ooh,
Virginia.
Could you imagine Michigan?
Virginia.
Michigan would be a
West
fight. That'd
Virginia.
be fighting words in Michigan.
I mean, yeah, just
Virginia-
any of these.
Virginia, West Virginia. Good God.
Yeah, any of them. Georgia,
Could you imagine those poor police officers? They'd go into some of
Kentucky,
these, hear the
Tennessee.
banjos.
See, that's I do love when like the police stand up and they just say, "We're not
No,
enforcing
not
this."
doing
We're
that.
not enforcing. It's unconstitutional.
Like one of the beautiful things about this country.
But what happens when they change the Constitution?
We'll see what happens
Do you
when it
think
gets to
that
that point.
police officers still stand up and fight for your right to party?
We will see what happens when it gets to that point where they actually start to try to change Constitution. Because when that happens, ooh, buddy.
If that happens, it might be time to boot scoot, boys.
Yeah, oh yeah. But anyways, so that is what's happening in New Mexico. Please make sure you all
'Cause
are.
that's a sign of bad times.
Please make sure you all are paying attention to that. We will of course stay on top of it.
New
See what
Mexico.
the
Impeach this woman. Get her out of there
That would be
as
nice.
fast as possible.
That would be nice. I would agree with that. But yeah, just make sure you stay on top of it. So
Any governor who blatantly goes against what the Constitution says
needs to be booted.
needs to be gone.
I agree with that.
Right, left, middle, I don't care who they are. The Constitution is the single greatest piece of legislation in the world. It has created the greatest country. We might not be the greatest country anymore in terms of education and things like that. But what America has become and where we got to, it created the greatest country on the face of the planet. It created freedom. It created all these things. The Constitution. And if you have a governor who thinks that they are big enough that they can challenge that document, they do not need to be a governor. And I would argue that that person may need to be put in jail.
Yeah. So interesting times ahead. A bit of a test for us American citizens as well. Time to start paying
Do we
attention.
got any comments on that? Because I want to hear what somebody else got to say.
No, unfortunately, because I would love to hear some people and what they got to say
Where's
about that
Dre
as well.
when you need him?
Where's Dre when you need him?
Look at what they banned in Illinois.
Assault weapons, AR-15s,
50
of course.
caliber guns? What? I can't take my Deagles into Illinois?
Wait a minute. Bans dozens of types of rifles and handguns. I guess they
See?
go by certain caliber as well.
See? They don't.
Interesting. Attachments, rapid firing devices, the most popular target AR-15. Well, I mean, I don't know. If they're going to let it happen, they let it happen.
This is
but
a common sense gun reform law to keep mass killing machines off our streets. Hey, if it's such common sense, why are you still protected by it?
Yeah, scary world we live in, gentlemen. So,
Rules
Yeah, that
for
would be
thee, not for
interesting. I
me.
wonder if, the state
Oh, no.
officials.
If any state gets rid of guns, their elected officials should not be protected by guns.
Yeah, I agree.
It
That
should
only
be-
makes sense.
Yeah, it should be. They should have billy sticks, billy clubs.
well, of course they're never going to do that, though.
Of course not.
I wonder if they.
Rules for thee, not for me.
I wonder if they have arrested anybody for possessing the things that
Oh,
they
I'm
just
sure.
banned.
We'd have to look a little more into that. Not tonight, of course, but
Right.
a little more into
I
it.
just want to make sure that, whoever's out here pushing to ban the guns is no longer protected by the guns.
By the guns themselves. I agree with that.
Because I want to go ahead, not me personally, but I would love for somebody to go and have a face-to-face conversation with that person without having to worry about a firearm being used on them.
Yeah, that would be an interesting conversation. Hey, you don't want guns? We'll go ahead and take them away for you. Don't worry. Good luck getting protected.
That'd be dope if the people who are doing the protecting were
Just stopped. Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and turn my gun in now.
I'm out.
And then what happens?
Yeah, right.
Anarchy.
But we'll talk about New Mexico as it comes up. We'll see if anything happens over this 30 days of her, ban or whatever. So we'll see what happens. Mayor Eric Adams from New York says asylum seekers will destroy New York City. Interesting thoughts, considering he was the one who wanted to be an asylum city. But anyways, an asylum seekers asylum seekers and their families continue to arrive at Roosevelt Hotel in Manhattan. Recent comments from New York City Mayor Eric Adams are drawing reactions during a community meeting at the Upper West Side this week. Mayor Adams said that the ongoing migrant crisis will destroy NYC. Never in my life have I had a problem, and I don't see an ending to this. Adams said the issue is destroying New York City. As more buses arrive at Port Authority, the mayor says the city is severely impacted by the influx of migrants, and the city is not getting support from federal government. Adams said 110,000 asylum seekers have passed through New York City since April 22, and the issue is creating a $12 billion budget deficit. Republican leaders say the mayor is right. Following the comments, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said New York City deserves better. This comes as Republicans have been pushing for Adams to repeal NYC's sanctuary policies. Adams said at one point the asylum seekers were coming from Venezuela, but now they are coming from Ecuador. Russian speakers are coming through Mexico, as well as migrants from West Africa. While other cities have been seeing a growing number of migrant arrivals, New York City has become an epicenter of the crisis. The city we know we're about to lose, and we are all in this together, all of us, Adams said. Staten Island is saying send them out to Manhattan. Manhattan is saying send them out to Queens. Queens is saying send them out to Brooklyn. So let's take a look at this quick video.
Give me a second. Let me make sure that.
Oh, 1 second. We got to make sure we get the video up and going right.
Just want to make sure that it's on.
The people in Rikers Island right now, 30 to 40% are dyslexic. We're doing dyslexia screening for all of our babies so they don't end up incarcerated. Because if you don't educate, you will incarcerate. Go online and look at our W's. Look at what I ran on and look at what we did. Go item for item on what Eric Adams ran on as a candidate, and then look at what we've accomplished in 20 months. We've turned this city around in 20 months. And then what happened? Started with a madman down in Texas, decided he wanted to bus people up to New York City. 110,000 migrants. We have to feed, clothe, house, educate the children, wash their laundry sheets, give them everything they need, health care. And this team here, we stated, let's do everything possible before we have to push it out into neighborhoods and communities. Month after month, I stood up and I said, this is going to come to a neighborhood near you. Well, we're here. We're here. We're getting no support on this national crisis, and we're receiving no support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we're getting Ecuador. Now we're getting Russian-speaking coming through Mexico. Now we're getting Western Africa. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City. And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in this city is going to be impacted. We got a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut. Every service in this city is going to be impacted. All of us. And so I say to you, as I turn it over to you, this is some of the most educated, some of the most knowledgeable, probably more of my commissioners and deputy commissioners and chiefs live in this community. So as you ask me a question about migrants, tell me what role you played. How many of you organized to stop what they're doing to us? How many of you were part of the movement to say, we're seeing what this mayor is trying to do, and they're destroying New York City?
So this is a tough topic. You know, I don't think it's right for New York City alone to take on the responsibility. But I also, you know, I think it's up to the whole country. But it definitely doesn't help that Abbott, you know, is sending up by the busloads migrants after migrants after migrants. You know, we're going to have to find a solution together as a country because I don't, you know, the migrant situation is absolutely hard to, you know, come to a conclusion with. You know, obviously this country is built off migrants, so I'm on the side of believing that we need to bring people into this country to be able to innovate and to be able to have a fostering environment for innovation and care and things of that nature. But it's also very tough because you can only hold so many people. And it's a tough situation. So I don't have the answers. I just know we got to find some solutions, and none of this is going to happen with everybody not talking with each other. Any thoughts, gentlemen?
It's so hard.
Yeah, it's a tough issue, but you clearly see that it's a serious issue, and we have to have some sort of process. We can't just have people pour in by the thousands and expect, you know, that to work.
And then busload them up to one city where they're all going to be. I mean, that just doesn't work.
Yeah, we can't bust them all over the country. I don't know, man. Like, I'd like to think of a policy solution. And the other thing I can say is we gotta tighten up our borders a little bit. They have to be regulated a little bit better. But it takes a whole country. It takes a whole country to do this. Like he said, you know, they were saying, you know, it's a New York issue. I mean, and it's not a New York issue. It's
The United States
it's
issue.
it's a United States issue, a countrywide issue, and we got to come together and get this under control. And like you said, Nath, this country was built by immigrants, and we want people to come here. We want people, you know, as they say, live the American dream and be free and have a good life. But in order for that to happen, we have to protect our borders in some sense. And like I said earlier, we We can't just have people pouring in by the thousands and thousands, uncounted. Because I mean, if that happens, then we don't have the country that we have.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's tough because I get where Texas is at. Texas was trying to build a wall. They were trying to stop the flow of people coming in. And the left-leaning side of the government has pretty much shut down their ability to do so. And now New York is known as one of the left-leaning sides or left-leaning states who has produced, congressmen and women to be able to stop the border of Texas to being able to stop people from coming in illegally. So I get where Abbott's coming from. Like, oh, well, you don't feel like it's your problem, so let's make it your problem, and then, then maybe you'll view this problem as a little different. And so you kind of feel one way about it that way. The other thing is, though, is like Stu and Nafe both just alluded to, the country was built on immigrants. So it's not like we want to completely stop immigrants from coming in. I don't think that that's I don't think that that's the goal here. I think the goal is to stop people coming in illegally or just in droves. If people can come in, if we can funnel them through different channels where they can come in the right way, they can get documented, they can get help, they can, that's a completely different situation than what's going on right now. And that makes so much more sense. What really sucks is that there are so many people in places that are getting treated so poorly that they are trying to just literally escape. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, when you can't be in your home country and you feel like you need to escape there to find yourself salvation with your family, I mean, that's a horrible situation to be in, and I couldn't imagine. I would do the same thing.
Wait, doesn't Texas have like buoys or something in the river? And they have like, I know I did see pictures of like shipping containers.
They're taking them away, right? Yeah,
they're cutting down the buoys.
They're taking out the buoys.
Why?
It was a legislation passed thing, I believe. We just posted a video on it, a week back or so, a little less than that. But yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that's right. There it is. A federal judge ordered Texas to remove the floating barrier from the waters of the U.S.-Mexico border. So,
why? I wonder why.
Did it give a real reason why? David Ezra of Texas is likely to be appealed by the state and passed to aggressively push legal boundaries to curb the flow. They doesn't really give a reason. There it is. The buoys deployed in July brought a swift legal challenge from the U.S. Justice Department, which accused Texas putting a barrier on international boundary without permission. President Joe Biden's administration also said the water barrier raised humanitarian and environmental concerns. I disagree with the environmental or humanitarian. I don't know
humanitarian, like if people get stuck in it and die.
Well, then, I mean,
you are also crossing the border illegally.
There you go. Right. So you're doing something you're not supposed to do. So, consequences, right?
You would think.
And that's kind of my thought on it. But yeah, so there's that. So definitely something we'll keep on top of because clearly New York's going to have a big issue with this and we're going to have to continue to talk about it because if not, nobody will. So we will stay on top of it. But any last closing thoughts on the migrant situation, gentlemen?
No.
Moving forward. Lithium deposit in extinct Nevada volcano could be the largest in the world. So let's end this on a positive note because this is pretty cool. 1 second. We got to get Stuart up here.
So basically what this article said is that there's a volcano in Nevada that has this huge lithium deposit that could even be sizably bigger than what we found in Bolivia.
Yep.
Which could completely change the economic ties of lithium. It could lower the cost of lithium. It could, I mean, really, if we are the ones that are harvesting it, obviously we're not using slave labor like some countries in Africa and things like that. So it makes it a much more ethical industry. So there's just a lot of positive that could come from this.
Yeah, so they say they believe there's about 20 to 40 million tons of lithium metal lie within the volcanic crater formed about 16 million years ago. There's deposits found beneath
1,000 pounds, right?
Yes.
2,000.
2,000 pounds?
Yeah.
So a million times
2?
2,000.
No, yeah, I think you're right. 1 ton. Yeah, 2,200 pounds. Good call.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. So 20 to 40 million tons of lithium within this volcanic crater formed about 16 million years ago. Analysis found that an unusual claystone composed of the mineral illite contains 1.3 to 2.4 of lithium of the volcano crater. This is almost double the amount of present magnesium smestite, which is more common than illite. So basically, I'm not too worried about how it got there or anything of that nature. We know it's there. That's the important part. But so economically significant. So the company expects to begin mining it in 2026, which is kind of cool. It will remove clay with water, then separate out to small lithium-bearing grains from larger minerals using centrifuge. The clay will then be leached in vats of sulfuric acid to extract the lithium. So, all the hand-wringing about how America doesn't have enough lithium to produce all the batteries it will need for the future is overblown. Resource scarcity always leads to the discovery of new resources. It has happened in the coal, oil, and gas industries for decades. Just when the fearmongers started saying we were about to run out of those commodities, either new supplies were found or new ways were discovered to extract more of them from beneath the surface of the earth. Fracking is a perfect example of how new technology can be extractive enterprises profitable for larger than anyone expected. If America needs lithium, the glories of the free market will find it. Those with really long timelines can already envision a future in which it is replaced with other cheaper and more plentiful materials. Perhaps one day future writers will be talking about peak lithium. So pretty cool. We found this huge deposit. Obviously, as it's going to become a more scarce resource, it is something that is obviously needed. So what are your all's thoughts about this? I mean, pretty interesting, pretty cool that we were able to find this out in a extinct volcano when it was created 16 million years ago. I think that's really interesting, really cool. Don't know why it's going to take till 2026.
Because they have to get... I mean, you think a mining operation that's going to be this large?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
They're going to need some time.
They're going to have
get the thing
time
up and
to
running.
plan it out and be able to get the teams assembled and make sure they're starting at different ends, making sure there's no danger or anything of that nature. So, yeah, it could be I guess it does make sense as to why it's going to take a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Okay. So in a Tesla battery,
Right.
there's about 8 kilos of lithium.
Uh-huh.
That'd be about 17 pounds
Oh, wow.
lithium.
Okay.
And 1 Tesla car battery. So if there's 40 million tons of lithium in this
That's a lot of
reserve here.
Tesla batteries.
Hold on, dog. 44 billion
Good Lord.
pounds of lithium.
Divide that by 17.
2.495 billion Tesla batteries.
This is
That's
my
a lot.
question. I'm guessing this is public land, right?
I think it was a state
I mean,
park.
it's a volcano, so I'd imagine it is.
Park, so public land.
I mean, it's an extinct volcano. I think it was a state park.
So I wonder how they go about, like, if a company wants to mine it. or something. Like
Probably have to get
Tesla
government
wanted
permits.
to mine it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's permits they got to go through. They'll have to get a contract with the government for how long they can operate, the amount of money that'll be exchanged, the amount of lithium they plan on extracting, blah, 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 blah. You know how it all goes. Yeah, it'll be a whole process. And I guess, again, that's why it's going to take till 2026.
I think it's good news, and it seems like a good thing, but we also, week after week, we know how this country operates and how
That's right.
politics, come into play. So
Okay. So here's the crazy part. So Tesla can at current levels produce about 1.5 million cars a year.
Right.
So the amount of batteries that can be built from this deposit, Tesla could keep going at their same rate for the next 1,663 years.
Jeez. So that won't be any issue we expect to see anytime soon with
No, there won't.
our generation.
Well, I mean, you also have to think like cobalt and all that other stuff. but
Right.
yeah, lithium just became. That's just from us. That's just from that deposit.
That is wild. I mean, and not to mention we are looking towards other renewable energy sources, so it's not like,
But that's wild.
that
bro.
is wild. A lot of resources.
1,600 years. If you subtract 1,600 years from now, we are in 500 AD.
Goodness. You don't really think about those things. That's a long time.
Bruh. That's like before the bubonic plague.
Yeah. Oh my God.
500 AD is like pretty much like, I think that's even older than ancient Greece, isn't it?
We have a bright future to look forward to, I guess.
I see what you did there.
Nah.
Pun intended, apparently.
What are you looking at over there, Stu?
just this G20
I don't want to talk about G20.
meeting. Where
Yeah, they were talking about how they wanted to make everything renewable resources or alternative sources, energy sources by 2030.
If they really wanted to do that, then they would be taking the money that we're throwing at Ukraine and be throwing that into solar capacity technology.
Yeah, or nuclear.
You wouldn't even need nuclear if we actually harness the sun's energy.
Right.
There's enough energy that hits the earth on one day at high noon that if we harnessed 100% of it, it would power the globe for the next.
Oh goodness. That is wild. Like all that money, everything we could be using for renewable resources and the ability to boost mankind into situations that we couldn't even imagine, and yet we're over here blowing it on wars because humans don't know how to get along.
Yeah. From my worldview, it's like I want us to evolve. I want
As a human race.
Yeah, as humans, I
Yeah.
want to evolve and have cool energy and be able to do a lot of things. But it's like greed and money and politics
And people allow it.
just get in the way of that.
That's the wildest part is people allow this stuff to happen, and it's not even right. We should be, as humans, we should all have kind of that same worldview. I agree with you, Stu. Like we should want to be able to, do some incredible things, save our planet, have renewable sources, be able to start traveling intergalactically, and being able to there's so many things we should be doing as a human species right now that we're not doing, and we're not going to be able to do it until we eliminate the labels that separates us from just being one thing, and that's a human being.
Yeah, I truly think the only people that hold us back is ourselves. Like us as a race, human race, we really, in my opinion, get held back by each other.
So here's my point. Jason Scanlon from Caltech.
Right.
If we could have a 100% efficient Dyson sphere collecting all of the sun's output for a single day, it would supplement the current Earth's energy needs for something like 400 billion years. The average energy budget of the Earth now is about 2.8 times 10 to the 12th power watts, or 2.8 terawatts. The sun's total output is 4 times 10 to the 26th power watts. It's 143 trillion times what we use. So one day would cover use for 143 trillion days, or long past the death of our sun and the collision of our Milky Way galaxy with the Andromeda.
That's wild.
That's just if we created a Dyson sphere around the sun that collected all of the sun's power. Even collecting only the solar energy which hits Earth would supply 1.7 times 10 to the 17th power watts, or about 64,000 times our current use. A day would last us a few hundred years. So if they really, really wanted to be energy efficient, renewable, and all that, we would be absolutely dumping money into solar harnessing technology. So you can't, G20, all that stuff, it's all a bunch of bull crap. It's all smoke and mirrors. If they really wanted to be super energy efficient, we would find a way.
Scariest thing is making it happen.
It's not even scary. It's just stop fueling stupid things.
Yeah.
Stop sending $140 billion to a conflict that we have no business being in.
It would take the world being able to eliminate leaders of nothing but greed and power to put humanitarian, peaceful leaders. Because then when you think about it, like it kind of hits a lot of root causes. You wouldn't have immigration as much. People would be in their home countries wanting to stay there because they can provide for their families and be safe.
You're talking about a perfect world, Nathan.
I know. Gosh, I'm getting.
It's not gonna happen.
But I mean, that's just like theoretically, if we really wanted to advance the human race, it's going to take a bunch of leaders that are humanitarians, believe in us as a race, and to evolve us as a race. And it's as simple as that.
Why do you think the aliens are here?
They want us to join the Galactic Federation.
No, I mean, I really, I don't even know if there's actually aliens. I would be sooner to believe.
Yo, pull it up. Did you see this?
I would be sooner to believe that it's the aliens in Mexico.
Did you see that? Yes. Yo, there's no way this is real. Look at E.T., dude. That's E.T., man.
He obviously didn't go home.
Dude, that is not real. That is, wow. That's funny. I mean, come on, y'all. That is not.
I mean, it says they're 1,000 years old.
It says,
through carbon dating. Bro, I would be more inclined to believe that the aliens are now being leaked by the governments of the world to bring us all together as a race, as a human race.
That'd be nice. That'd be freaking nice.
Because it's going to take an existential crisis
for us to actually pull together.
The thing is we don't believe that global warming is actually what they're saying it is.
There's that too. God almighty.
The climate change stuff. Nah. All
right, guys, let's get out of here for the night. This has been
scientists in the 70s said smoking was good for you.
This has been too much. This sent me over.
We gotta roll. It's been 2 hours. We gotta get out of here. Nave, take us off.
This one sent me over the freaking aliens.
Take us out of here, Nave. Get us out.
I can't.
Do it.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Do it.
All right, let's get out of here.
You see, I still snuck aliens in.
You did still sneak
aliens.
I
was doing really good.
He's gonna sneak aliens every episode. Every episode.
Bro.
I'm all good for it.
It is something that we should absolutely be talking about. Like, what are you?
I don't disagree.
Aliens, dog.
So let's talk about this. Follow us on all of our socials. Facebook.
Like, share, comment, follow, subscribe.
What he just said. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok.
Finger gun.
The Royal Rumble. Finger guns.
No, I'm pointing to you, Stu, because you were back there and you were given the monitor fits a second ago, bro.
Yeah, so make sure you follow us on all of our socials. That is what truly.
We're gonna get a Royal Rumble from Ryan.
Wait, all right, and
what are we talking about?
The Royal Rumble.
The
Royal
what?
Rumble.
What is that?
Oh, it's one of our social media. Rumble. Yes. Oh, there it is. We absolutely appreciate everybody who's helped support us this far. We're continuing to grow, continuing to do the things that we love to do, which is inform you all of everything going on around the world. So please make sure you follow us on all of our socials.
And we're sorry about the 2-hour episode tonight.
Please remember to share this with people you love, of course, and those that you love discussing this with, but also with those that you disagree with, because ultimately, I promise you, we all have more in common than what we don't. Just sit down and talk with somebody across the aisle sometime.
Belief here at The Fact Is.
And then, of course, I'm going to run through this spiel. I want to tell you all, thank you all to all military personnel, active duty, retired, law enforcement, thank you so much, fire and rescue, doctors, nurses, paramedics, hospital staff, farmers, those in American manufacturing, those in social work, helping take care of U.S. citizens, especially those helping the mental health field. Thank you all so much. And then last but not least, ethical congressional representatives. We do have to stop saying that. So, of course, do you all have any other closing remarks? We good to go?
Peace.
I have some closing remarks.
What's up, Stu?
Piggybacking on what you said to first responders, to all the first responders that put their life on the line during 9/11 in 2001, and the ones that lost their lives, you will be missed and not forgotten.
And thank you for your sacrifice.
Yeah. But in this country, we have a job to do. We, the people, have to hold our government accountable, and we have to build bridges and not burn them down and come together.
I agree with that message.
Well said.
And with that being said, thank you all for coming to the 138th episode of the Fact Is podcast. We will see you all soon. Thank you all so much. Have a great night.
Peace.